Hello. Hi, I'm Alan Birchall. All right, thank you for coming. This session is about using Edge in the enterprise. A little bit about myself. I am a manager at Avanade Australia. We're a global company that does IT consulting and software development. I work as a subject matter expert in a large multinational corporation as the Active Directory and PKI administrator. So I live and breathe certificates and Active Directory and a lot of other stuff, of course, because, you know, our jobs are never about just the one thing. I also have a blog, Group Policy Central. The website of the blog is www.grouppolicy.biz, B-I-Z. All right, that website has a whole bunch of news, tips, tricks, articles about group policy. It has articles about Edge group policy settings. It has articles about Internet Explorer group policy settings and all other sorts of greatness about group policy settings. Got lots of best practice articles there if you want to just, you know, about how to configure group policy in your organisation, or if there's anything changing or upcoming incoming in group policy, I'll blog about it there too. I'm also on Twitter at Alan Birchall, AlanBurchill. So if you want to follow me on Twitter, I mainly talk about all things group policy and Microsoft and Lego and other stuff. So if you're interested in any of those things, follow me. All right, but today I'm going to talk to you about Edge in the enterprise. So, couple of survey, I kind of get a feel from the audience of what you're all dealing with at the moment in your organisation. So, just a couple of questions. So, put your hand up if you have 0 desktop browsers configured in your organisation on your workstations. Right, I didn't think 0 would, but there could have been, because you can remove it, right? All right, put your hand up if you only have 1 browser in your organisation installed on your desktop computers. I see 1 hand. I'll ask you a question, because you're the only person who put your hand up. Is it Windows 7? XP? Hey? Okay, well, okay. Windows 10 and you only have 1 browser. Actually, you have 2. Yes, okay. Who has 2 browsers in their organisation configured on their desktop operating systems? All right, there's not a lot of hands. So who has 3 browsers? Wow, lots of hands. Who has 4? More than 4. Oh my goodness. Okay. My job today is to make you go away and go, hey, Windows 10 is great, because we already know that, don't we? But if you go to Windows 10, you go, all we need to use for our browsers is Edge and IE and nothing else. And why? Because it's full of goodness. And I will go through that goodness, and I will go through how you get that goodness and how you configure that goodness in this session today. So I'm going to explain to you why Edge and IE in your organisation is the best combination for you and your users, and the advantages and why and how you do that. All right? I want to give you practical knowledge that you'll be able to take away and go to work tomorrow, go to work on Monday, and be able to go, we have to do this in our organisation today because it's great and it doesn't cost anything because this is all out of box in Windows 10. Now, if you're not on Windows 10, you can't run Edge. But if you're going to Windows 10, keep all of this in mind, okay? This is the stuff, when you move to 10, you should do, right? Whatever you've got deployed right now, probably you've got to a happy place with how your browsers are configured. This is Windows 10. So everything I talk about applies to Windows 10, okay? Because Edge is only a browser available in Windows 10. So first of all, Internet Explorer, the browser we love to hate. All right, we love to bag on Internet Explorer. So why do we use Internet Explorer? Who here uses Internet Explorer for their intranet applications? Lots of hands, right? Why do we need for intranet applications? ActiveX controls, the website just doesn't work, there's some compatibility issue, just doesn't quite work well on Chrome, it still renders using IE 5.5 HTML document types or stuff like that. So that's the first one. So you're using Internet Explorer because you have to. Edge, the browser that nobody uses. Why doesn't anyone use it? Well, to be quite frank, when Windows 10 came out, the Edge browser came out. It was a great browser, had good HTML support, could use a pen and annotate the screen, didn't have extensions. And so far as browsers go, it wasn't quite there. But Microsoft have been adding to the browser and improving it since the release of Windows 10 to a point now where Edge is actually a viable solution for your everyday internet browser. All right, in my opinion. I'd also say, I'm not here to convince you need to change your browser that you use at home. I'm here to make the argument that this is what you should be doing in the enterprise. All right? I know you all probably use Chrome at home. I'm being a realist here. All right? But in the enterprise, you want the best combination. So hopefully I can make that argument. So Chrome, the browser we have to install. Why do we have to install it? Because there's a website that my user wants to go to and it doesn't work in IE. Either the site uses some advanced HTML5 tags, or the site has some stupid check that says, no, you're IE, I'm just going to break and it doesn't matter, I'm not even going to try. Okay? So you have to use Chrome. So you've gone and you've installed it. Or the browsers that the users install themselves. How many times have you gone and you've seen Chrome has been installed on a computer and you go, how did Chrome get on your computer? I didn't install it there. And the user says, oh, I installed it because I needed to run some web page. Now, I'm not going to talk about it today, but my website has a really great article on how you can use AppLocker to actually block Chrome running in your organization. All right? So if at the end of this you're completely convinced and you go, Edge and IE all the way, I want to get rid of Chrome, you can use AppLocker to block it. All right? You don't have to. But I'm just saying, I'm just adding that in there. So why consolidate to IE Edge? Why get rid of why get rid of my third, my fourth, my fifth, my sixth web browser off my computers? All right, why should I do that? My users like using Chrome at work, right? They're kind of happy. They've got Chrome. Yeah, okay. Improve security. What software on your operating system is the largest attack vector for malicious people? Your browser. So when your largest attack vector is your browser, having multiple attack vectors, i.e. multiple browsers, on your computer gives you a larger attack vector. Now not only are you vulnerable to IE bugs and Edge bugs, all right, you're also vulnerable to third-party browser bugs, security vulnerabilities. All right? You're basically increasing your attack vector. So you want to improve the security of your users because we love it when users get malware, don't we? Not. Okay, we want to avoid our users getting malware and malicious code installed on their computer via a browser. Better management synergy. So what I'm going to go through is I'm going to show you how, if you're using IE and Edge, how you can get a lot of overlap now, not in the past, but now, going forward in the future, you have a lot of management overhead so that you're not having to manage browsers twice, 3 times, 4 times. Chrome has group policy. Yep, sure does. But if you want to configure Chrome, you have to configure the Chrome policies. You want to configure IE, you have to configure the IE policies. Right? And up until recently, you want to configure Edge, you had to configure all the Edge policies. It was really, who wants to do administrative overhead 3 or 4 times? Anyone? No one? No, I didn't think so. Right, so better management synergy. So less work. Less work is good, yep, for you as administrators and IT pros. I'm pitching this at IT pros, by the way. If you're a software developer, yeah, a little bit in here for you too, but just so you know, I am pitching this. Also, the best user experience. Having multiple web browsers on your computer, funnily enough, can be confusing for users because they need to know what browser they need to use to open what website. So they have an intranet app that doesn't work in Chrome, and they have an internet site that doesn't work in IE, and they log a support job because they're in Chrome, and they click a link, and it goes to the intranet, and it doesn't work, and you tell them, well, what browser are you using? They say, oh, I'm just using the browser on my computer. Yeah, but is it Chrome or is it IE? Oh, I don't know. It's just the one that's there. It's installed, right? You also want, from a user experience, websites should just work. They should just go to a web page and it should just work. That would be nice. And it should work fast, right? It shouldn't be slow to load, it should be fast to load, and it should just render the way it's meant to look. So I'm going to start talking about security to begin with. Security for enterprises, I think, is a big deal. So I'm going to go through a few slides about security and on your with Edge. All right. So over time, attacks in the organizations have started to really evolve. It's not so much now websites that are just compromised with malicious software. Players are actually sending specific phishing emails, standard phishing attack with links, with HTML documents, specific to organizations, to specific users, right? And if someone's really targeting you in a way, they'll send you a link, and it's a link that's got a Chrome vulnerability in it. Or they'll send you a link, and it's a link that's got an IE vulnerability in it. They'll just pick whichever one. Or maybe they'll send you the person two links, and if they don't click on one, they might click on the other. You know, it's a larger attack vector. They're getting more trickier, and organizations out there are actually purchasing malware from other players. They actually go, they'll say, I want to buy this attack, or you've got a malicious piece of software that takes advantage of some sort of security compromise in IE or in Chrome. Great, I'll buy that. I'll repackage that malware, send it out myself as a different vulnerability. Maybe it's like, you've heard of, systems on demand, software on demand. It's like malware on demand. It's a service, malware as a service, MAS. There you go, new one for you. It really is. There are people out there selling malware as a service. And that you get things like CryptoLocker, not necessarily CryptoLocker, but things like CryptoLocker, and they buy it and they say, if your machine's compromised, you've got to send it this Bitcoin. And that's why people buy it, because the bad players say, well, then we're harvesting Bitcoins. We didn't write the software. We just paid someone to write the software for us, and we customized the Bitcoin that it has to be sent to. They're really getting to that level. So security is an absolute must. The bad guys are getting better and more targeted. So if you are in an organization that's running Chrome or IE or Firefox or whatever browser, they can start targeting that browser, right? Just for you and for your organization. So what is Microsoft doing to make Edge better? So there's a number of ways. It's not just one thing that you can do. That's one reason why Edge is a more secure browser. They've basically gone through, they looked at Edge, they looked at IE, and they said, right, we're going to fork this, and they just basically removed a whole bunch of code. There's no ActiveX controls, as you know. That's why most of your intranet sites might not work, because there's no ActiveX controls. No browser help objects, toolbars, none of that. VB script, VML, even legacy documents mode. It's all just gone, right? They've removed the code. When you remove hundreds, thousands, millions of lines of code from software, you're by definition making it more secure because there's less bugs, because you have to be removing the bugs when you're removing the code. So you reduce the attack vector. Okay? So this applies to Edge, right? IE still has all that in there. All right? So making Edge harder to attack by removing, but also Edge is actually designed as a modern application. So you know these, it was Metro applications and it was modern applications, and now it's what, Universal Windows Platform applications. I'm not a developer, I think they're the terms. Basically now Edge is basically a modern application. So if you haven't seen it and you open up Process Explorer, you'll notice Process Explorer from sysinternals, you actually notice that it's launched as a modern application, which means it's sandboxed, which means the process itself is running as privileges that can't access parts of the operating system it doesn't need to see. It means the Edge browser and the Flash process are actually separate processes, all right, that talk to each other through an intermediary. It means stuff like when you're saving files to disk, it's going through a broker so that you can save a file to a disk, but it's not actually Edge writing that file to the disk, right? They've they've put it in a box and they've just stuck a few holes in the box and they said, these are the holes you can communicate through and that's it. And if you try to get out of that box any other way, we're not going to let you do that. All right, so Edge by default, the application, the way the application is written is in a sandbox type of way. Also, Smart Screen. Edge, of course, has Smart Screen in it. Microsoft has over 1 billion computers, right? And a lot of them have 300 million anti-malware endpoints. When they start seeing malicious URLs, they start blacklisting those URLs. If you go to a website, right, Edge with Smart Screen turned on, will go then to Microsoft and say, hey, is this URL safe? And it actually then starts going, yep, okay, it's safe, I can go there, I've seen it before, there's been no reports of malicious malware there. Edge also has the ability to say, Microsoft, sorry, also has the ability to say, hey, we're seeing a lot of malware coming up on this website. They can actually even start pushing blacklists down to your browser. So even before you start downloading information from the website, because of course, normally what you do is you visit the site first, but if you wait for a response, it's going to take a while. So it's an asynchronous process. But they can also push out synchronous blocking of websites that are known to be bad, the really bad ones. So their Smart Screen filter has a lot of telemetry sources. You've got Bing, you've got the anti-malware, obviously Windows Defender and all the other antivirus endpoint protections, application reputation. They basically are in a position where they can see when the zero-day malware starts coming out and they can help you with Smart Screen to block the end users from visiting those websites. Okay, probably even before the website's actually, you know, if there's a new virus or something like that, before it even has a chance for antivirus patterns to come up. So Internet Explorer also has that, but so does Edge. And I've also seen some stats recently where Edge, Chrome and Firefox has similar things as well, but Internet Explorer and Edge by far and away blocks more sites, more malicious sites than the competitors do. So far, how has it been? So Edge has been out now for over a year. Okay, so if you can see here, we've got the number of Internet Explorer exploits here over on the right. So Microsoft are still working, still support Internet Explorer, and they are still making it more secure. Okay, we can see there the vulnerabilities are 0 days, vulnerabilities exploited after 30 days, or vulnerabilities exploited within 30 days. Okay, notice there that you've got vulnerabilities that are exploited after 30 days has gone down a lot to almost nothing, because bad guys, guess what? As soon as the 0 days out or the patch is out, they're making malicious attacks on the browsers almost straight away. As for Internet Explorer, as you can see, the number of exploits known have gone down greatly for Internet Explorer. So these are actual 0-day exploits in the wild. Edge hasn't had any yet. That doesn't mean Edge hasn't had security vulnerabilities. This is exploits, so people actually exploiting vulnerabilities in Edge. One could make the argument that, what? I was that excited, it just went ahead. One could make the argument that the reason there's been no exploits is because no one uses Edge. Yes? Yes, I am a realist, right? But it does bode well that no one has found any. It's still, actually, it doesn't have a zero. It's not 0. I think it's 3 or 4% market share, okay? But it definitely has market share. As for the number of vulnerabilities, have a look at that, Microsoft Edge. Compare it to Internet Explorer, Chrome, and Firefox. By far and away, Microsoft Edge has had far fewer critical vulnerabilities published. All right? So Edge, it's been out for a while, certainly seems to be more secure, hasn't had any malware. So in case you haven't seen, I'm just going to play a video here, but I'll just explain it and I'll see what you're seeing. This is an explanation of a new technology that's coming sometime soon. It's called Windows Defender Application Guard. I'll play this, but what I do want you to make note of, at one stage they're going to show two browsers side by side, and you'll notice the differences between the two browsers. The top left-hand corner, there'll be an icon difference. I just want you to, if you can, notice that.
The internet has completely changed the way we work and do business. It's hard to imagine a world without it. Today, attacks frequently target the browser, any browser, as a way to breach organizations and access their data, so it's critical that we make it a safe place. With Windows Defender Application Guard, we want to make your experiences just that, safe and secure. We're excited to show you this in Microsoft Edge. Websites that are considered untrustworthy by your business or enterprise will automatically launch Microsoft Edge in an isolated session. These sessions are visually different to ensure users understand they're in a more secure browsing environment. Enterprise administrators have full control to decide which sites the organization trusts and which launch protected with Application Guard. Our patented hardware virtualization technology extends beyond the kernel level, protecting your network from malware, viruses, vulnerabilities, and even zero-day attacks. This lightweight virtual machine isolates malicious activity coming from the web, preventing it from reaching the underlying operating system, apps, and data. If the user encounters malicious content, it's contained within Application Guard. The user can close this session without impacting their PC or network. So as your employees browse the web, Application Guard and Microsoft Edge keep your business network safe and secure.
Makes you feel all warm and fuzzy after that. It's great. Oh, yay. All right, so a bit of explanation of what that is. So Windows Defender Application Guard is running Edge in a hypervisor. Edge browser process will be running in a separate kernel to the kernel that's running on your machine. All right, what does that mean? Who remembers Windows XP mode in Windows 7? Right, completely separate virtual machine. But if you're running IE6 in it, and it's just a completely separate kernel, right? If that browser got compromised, only the browser and that XP mode machine actually got compromised. It didn't break out of the machine because it's a separate kernel, a separate version of Windows. But it was really slow, all right? So they are using the hypervisor now and the hardware virtualization in Windows 10 to actually do a separate, almost light virtual machine. And they're actually running it as kind of like a separate tab. So you saw the tab there in the top right had the red. No, I don't want it. I want this. So basically what we're going to see is we're going to see the operating system running Edge, and then for internet websites, so untrusted, so we call the internet untrusted. But then for trusted websites, such as your corporate intranet, where you want to do things like integrated authentication, right? It will run just as a standard process in the operating system itself. All right, so that means ding. Okay, so that means that the operating system itself can still run Edge in the enterprise, but it also means that Edge for the untrusted websites is going to be far more secure. So running your browser in a virtual machine, the key takeaway that is, if your browser gets compromised and you close the browser, you're essentially closing the virtual machine, right? Which means if there is malware running, it gets killed when you close the browser, right? So I think that sort of security in the browser is just going to take Edge to really the next level of security. And honestly, I've been hearing this for maybe 10 years where they said, well, Microsoft's going to run applications in a virtual container and virtual sandboxes. And they have been sandboxing it, but this is an application actually running in a separate hypervisor. I think for security and the way of the future, this is going to be really big. Right now, they've announced it for Edge. Right? But I think going forward, if we see that more, it's just going to make applications far more secure. Many questions get asked about then how you do cross-process. You know, how does process A talk to process B if they're in separate machines? Don't know. We're starting with Edge. It's got pretty limited requirements for doing cross-process talking. So security. All right. Hopefully that means security. Okay, you're convinced it's going to be more secure. Great. What about Internet Explorer? All right. Internet Explorer in your organization, what I'm going to pitch to you now, should only be used for your intranet. Why use IE for the internet? All right. Edge on the internet works really well. IE on the intranet works really well. If your intranet web browser, IE, Doesn't have all these extra security features, although it still has some quite significant security features, might I add. But if you only face it and point them at internal websites, well, your internal websites are less likely to be compromised with malware than your external internet or the entire internet itself, right? So you point the internal browser to intranet sites and you use Edge for the internet. So, okay, manageability, moving on. Updates and policy, where's the synergy? So updating the browser. So Microsoft Edge uses an Edge HTML engine, which is updated through Windows Update, WSUS, or Windows Update for Business, which is just basically Windows Update on your computers. Edge, the application, is updated kind of through the store. Let's just say it's part of the Windows Update process, i.e. also updated through Windows Update, WSUS, and Windows Update for Business, i.e. the application, Windows Update, WSUS, Windows Update for Business. So you have a great overlap there on how you do patching of your browsers for IE and Edge. How do you patch Chrome? Anyone? It does it, not easily. I like that answer. Does it itself sometimes. You push out a new version. I mean, they push a new version out every 6 weeks. That's not painful, right? Picking on Chrome, but insert third-party browser here, right? So basically what I'm saying is that if you're running Edge and IE in your organization, you have much better overlap on how you update your software in your organization. If you're already using these technologies, then you leverage the existing technologies to update Edge. You don't have to do something else. Question. What happens if you disable the Windows Store? You'll still get the HTML updates, which is like your web browser rendering. I haven't, this is ultimately updated through the Windows Store. I haven't actually seen, has anyone seen Edge being actually updated through the Windows Store? No. I think they're still doing it through Windows Update. I think the long term, and I'm guessing, this is not official, I'm guessing that the long-term plan will be that they'll be able to deliver updates just like an update through the Windows Store. What happens when you do it through the Windows Store and you don't have Windows Store? Good question. Probably a good segue to say, guess what? Windows Server 2016 doesn't have Windows Store, doesn't have modern applications. Unfortunately, Edge is not available on Windows Server 2016, nor it is available on the Windows 10 long-term servicing branch. Kind of a little bit sucky. Still has IE. IE is still a decent browser. All right, but if you're running long-term servicing branch, hopefully you're also not running Chrome. Doesn't really make sense to install the most updated piece of software in the world on the operating system, which will be updated the least. Kind of doesn't make sense. But at the moment, the updates are still being delivered via Windows. All right. But basically what I'm trying to say is that the update process at the moment is going to be very synergistic. And if it is, it's going to go through the store. You're going to be able to control store anyway. All right, but group policy. So I'm a group policy MVP, so funnily enough, I'm going to talk about and show you how to do group policy with Edge. And things with group policy and Edge are actually changing really fast. Who ever looked at the Edge group policies when it first came out in Windows 10? There were like 6 policy settings. Can even configure the home page. The registry key to configure the home page in the key had a URL says, do not update this key, go to this URL to find out / homepage, registry key. It was terrible. It was like they didn't want third-party people, application developers, IT pros, anyone configuring the homepage for Edge because they wanted users to configure the homepage to whatever they wanted. I actually then published an article on my website to show you how to do it via group policy by updating that registry key, all right, which so you could still do it, but it was really hard. So that was 1507, the original version of Windows 10, and it was actually Edge version 12. Microsoft won't tell you it was Edge version 12. They just want to tell you it's Edge. But they're always revving it. All right, each new version of Windows, 1511, the November 1511 update, Edge 13. Homepage support came out, woohoo! And you could only set it per computer. Yeah. Home pages are a computer setting. Great, okay. Sure. So Microsoft got some more feedback on that. 1607, Edge 14, homepage and for users and computers. Woohoo! So now I can configure home pages. I could also configure favorites for Edge, which is something I couldn't do before. On Edge 14, I could configure the home page and I can configure for per user. So I could target a group. Maybe the accounting department had a different home page to the engineering department or something like that. And in 1703, Creative Update, Edge version 15, you can now synchronize your Internet Explorer favorites with Edge. So they're just the one list, because before that, they were two separate lists, and that was a pain in the butt. Because someone would go, oh, I'm in IE, I added that a favorite yesterday, but it's not there anymore. I said, well, what browser are you in now? Oh, I'm in Edge. And it's like, well, that was a different browser. There is now literally one group policy setting that you turn on and the two just stay in sync. Yes. Okay. So, enough talking. Demo. Let's do this. Okay. So, I'm going to explain my environment here. I have a domain controller running 2012 R2. You do not need to be on no, wait. Oh, hang on. Yay. Okay, so I have a Windows domain controller here running 2012 R2. You do not need any schema extensions for this. But you do kind of need to have administrative templates. Now, the administrative template story is a little bit confusing here. All right. So what are administrative templates? Well, if you don't know what administrative templates are, they're basically the definitions of what group policies settings you have in your organization. All right. So if I go in here, I'm on 2012 R2. I go in, I have a look, policies, administrative templates, Windows settings, go through here. Oh, Edge UI, that must be Edge group policy settings. No, that's not Edge group policy settings. That's the Edge UI. You know, you swipe in stuff from your user interface. Edge settings, Edge settings, Edge settings. No Edge settings. Oh, well, Internet Explorer settings, yes, okay. So there are no Edge settings. Why? Because it's 2012 R2. Edge didn't exist yet. Okay, so here we go. Internet Explorer. And basically, I've got all my Internet Explorer settings here. So how do I get Edge settings? Right, well, policy definitions folder underneath your sys file. I have a domain called corp.local. I have policies. These are all my group policy objects, but under the sysvol policies, I have a policy definitions folder. This is where it's getting all the information about the settings and group policy. Yes, if you know group policy in your organization, this is probably old news. Okay, but you know, if this is really important, sorry if I'm covering it, you know, policy definitions folder, it's kind of circa Windows Vista days, but let me just show you something. I have a list here of older policy settings, all right? So remember how I was talking about 1507? I rename my policy definitions folder. And so renaming the policy definitions folder actually doesn't get rid of any of settings. It just basically means you don't have the text to display what the policy settings actually mean. So if I go back like this. So now I'm running group policy settings circa original version of Windows. Microsoft Edge, yay, I've got like 9 settings. Yay, it's not very good. Okay, so now you've probably gone, okay, well, I want the latest and greatest. Rename, old 2, guess which one I'm going to copy next. 1502, so 1502 was actually a version of, Windows 10 that was released January. Had some good group policy settings in there. So I'm skipping a few versions ahead here, and I'll go in, and I'm going to edit. Notice, you know, it's called the IE settings group policy, but you know, I should probably rename that to browser settings. Windows Edge. even more group policy settings in there. No, I haven't done any schema updates. I'm running this on a 2012 R2. Could be doing this on 2008 R2 domain. You don't need domain functional levels to do this. I'm just updating the admin templates. But Microsoft, being Microsoft, they keep releasing newer versions and more newer versions of the Edge, and every time it comes out, the C Windows directory on your actual Insider preview has a policy definitions. Latest build, this is one I'm using at least, is 1525. Okay, and now I go edit. So what I've done is I've basically quickly gone through maybe what you've done in your organization where each time. Look at that. It's over a whole page, right? Internet Explorer settings, not Internet Edge settings, configure start page, configure favorites. Question? So no, so today, the only way you can get this, thank you for the question, are these part of the Windows 10 ADMX pack? So Microsoft will only release ADMX pack when they release major version of Windows. If you download the Insider preview today, see Windows policy definitions. All these ADMXs are there. You copy them over. Thank you for the question, because there's another caveat. If you have Windows Server 2016 and you go see Windows policy definitions and copy that into your system vol, you will find you don't have Edge policy settings. I kind of mentioned it before. Anyone know why? Edge isn't in Server 2016, so they didn't give you the group policy setting ADMX files. So the thing is that if you're there right now, you have Windows Server 2016 have the latest published ADMX files. So if you're using those, which are the latest and greatest, you're still going to have to copy the Edge ADMX files. I'll just show you what they are. The ADMX and the ADML in it's actually Microsoft Edge. Microsoft Edge.admx. Right, you're still going to have to manually copy that across, so the ADMX file and the ADML, and combine the 2016 policy settings with the Edge policy settings. Okay, so I've lit up the group policy settings. Great. So configuring Edge in the enterprise. So this is a group policy here I've configured earlier. It has some settings. It has a home page configured. Has some favorites configured. And if I go to my client here and I open up Edge, don't have a home page, go to favorites, nothing. All right. But if I go Internet Explorer, have a home page, this is my wonderful intranet, which is really old. And I also have some favorites. Group Policy Central, hey, that's a great website. Intranet 2, maybe I have a new intranet, maybe I have one part of my intranet that is using modern web standards, maybe I have another intranet that's not, different organizations, who knows. But it's all configured here. So, what do? I'm going to go in. First of all, a couple of things I'm going to do. Back at it. Configure start page. First thing I want to do is I want to configure a start page for my browser. Notice that this here says will only work for domain joined devices. So even if you use local group policy on a Windows Pro SKU that wasn't domain joined, it's not going to work. So I'm going to set my homepage to intranet.corp.local. But I'm also going to go keep favorites in sync between IE and Edge. And if I tick this, that's it. Done. Okay, what does that look like? So now that I've done that, group policy update force. Close the browser, remember? Favorites here. Fingers crossed. This is beta. Oh, hang on. Let me just trigger something. Yay! 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 All right. It's an asynchronous process. The favorites in Edge are actually stored in a Jet database. The favorites in IE are actually a flat folder structure. So it is an asynchronous process. Ah, did you see that? Intranet 2A appeared because I renamed it in IE. Took a few seconds for it to come across. All right. So what have I done? I set my IE favorites. Great. I don't have to create a separate list for Edge. Fantastic. Less administrative overhead. Tick. Okay. What's my homepage? Yeah, it was. Oh, well, this is the homepage here. It loaded the internet. Oh, no. Start page and homepage are different. Yes. Yeah, they are. So this is the start page. Start page is the page you go to when you start the browser. The home page is the one you go to when you click the home button. Okay. Slightly different, but it is different. So I can at least configure it. Yeah, it's not the same policy setting, but it's just a single URL for your home page, but you can target it per user. So, okay, first of all, I've shown Internet Explorer favorite synchronization. This is a Redstone 2 feature. You need 1703. So sorry, if you have Windows 10 today, you can't get that. But there's nothing stopping you, once the production ADMX files are out, go do the ADMX files, turn this on straight away. So then the first person in your organization who goes to Redstone 2 gets this goodness straight away, right? Because you don't want to do it after. There's no damage. If you have other favorites already in Edge, it's just going to combine the two. Right? Yeah, you'll probably have a lot of favorites in Edge, but you know, at least you're not maintaining two different lists. Okay, so shown your home page, and I've shown you favorites. And I've shown you that Edge now has a whole bunch more group policy settings, certainly a lot more than it did when the first day when it came out. Microsoft have been working very hard to make Edge an enterprise-friendly application. And group policy is one way they've done that. Okay, so there's other ones, there's favorites. Yeah, I think it does. Yes, I think. Yeah, I think that is actually the case. Yes, next question. Sorry, the question was if you already copied them all across. If you already did the import settings. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, okay. If you've already done that. Well, don't turn it on. Well, maybe. Yeah, okay. Next question. No. One of the things, and this is, I think you'd have to turn on user profile synchronization for this, but one of the settings is device synchronization, sync your favorites and reading list in the Edge browser itself. And this is Microsoft doing it up to the cloud. Yeah. I can see privacy issues with that, but for most end users, hey, if you want privacy issues, don't use Chrome, or turn off the synchronization or login feature in Chrome. You kind of have to do the same thing with Edge. You lose a lot of goodness, right? Okay, moving on. Is there an option here to stop that synchronization? Oh, that's the other thing you can configure. Adobe Flash now is click to run in Edge, right? So for your users, you can actually have it so it's like Chrome or other browsers where you actually have to click on the Flash extension to actually even run it. So Flash isn't even going to auto-run. Allow extensions. New versions of Edge have extensions. Maybe you want to turn that off, but at least you have the, as an IT administrator. I don't think it has Windows Defender Smart Screen. You can configure that as well. They've put in a lot, okay? All right, so going back, and I need to, okay. All right. User experience. So the user experience with Edge, and this is where, I am trying to kind of make the argument here of why Edges are better. It's highly compatible user experience when using Edge with IE. You can use enterprise mode, which is what I'm going to go through soon, so that you can actually send Internet Explorer to your intranet websites, and you can send the intranet, when you go to the internet, you can open an Edge, or you can selectively use whatever browser you want between Edge and IE, depending on the URL that you're going to. The reason that is good for the users is because they don't have to remember what browser to use. All right? You want to take that decision away from them. All right, standards. I'm going to show you. Edge has excellent HTML5 standard support, and it's getting better. Every new version of the operating system, every new version of web, it's getting better and better. And speed. I'm going to talk to you a bit about speed and some of the speed improvements that Edge have made. All right, so this is kind of where these are all the officially supported browsers in your organization. We're talking about Windows 10 here, Internet Explorer 11 and Edge. All right. A lot of people, when they did the Windows XP to Windows 7 migration, what did they do? They had a Windows 8, Internet Explorer 8 on XP, and then they jumped across to Windows 7. All right, now hopefully in your organization you're probably looking at Windows 10 migration, so what are you going to do? Well, upgrade your browser to the IE 11 on Windows 7 and then jump across to Windows 10. That way you're keeping your web browser compatibility virtually the same. Okay? But now we're adding Edge to the mix. The other important thing to note is these are the browsers that are actually supported. All right, if you're running Windows 8, you're not even supported. You need to go to 8.1. All right, IE 10 is no longer supported. But if you are running Vista, Internet Explorer 9 is still supported. Who is running Vista? Nobody. Okay, that's good. All right, so these are the currently supported browsers. So there is this thing called Enterprise Mode. So what is Enterprise Mode? Every time Microsoft brought out a new version of Internet Explorer, since like Internet 5, back in 1999, they didn't change the engine. They just added a new one. And if the website goes and declared, hey, I want to run this website in an old document type mode, Internet Explorer would change to a different engine. Notice when I said in Edge, one of the things they got rid of is all these legacy browser standards modes. They got rid of all the old document type modes because it was a separate rendering engine. They didn't even add to the rendering engine. It was just like a separate DLL, which was a separate rendering engine. So the problem was, is a lot of websites, they were really, really bad at declaring what sort of HTML web standards they should actually render in. Some of them did it wrong, so Edge got really confused, or not Edge, sorry, IE got really confused and started rendering websites in like IE 5.5 mode, which was just made the website look terrible. Why? Because there was like a bug in IE 6 that said if you're not declaring it on the first line of your HTML header, then I'm just going to ignore it. So a lot of websites were actually written to be compatible with the bug that Microsoft then fixed, which then broke a lot of websites. Yeah, confusing, I know. So compatibility mode is basically a way, enterprise mode, sorry, is basically a way that enterprise administrators can provide IE8 and IE7 fidelity to their users. It's basically the browser just basically saying, I'm just going to render this website using IE8 mode, or I'm going to render this website using IE7 mode. All right, and you enable it using group policy, MDM. There's also an XML configuration file. This has been out for a little while. Microsoft have added to it. They've added all extra doc type modes. It used to just be IE8 mode and kind of like the Edge mode, not the Edge browser mode, but the Edge standards. So if IE11 is running in Edge standards mode, it basically means it's trying to render it to the best of its ability. And there's registry keys that support that. And I've kind of stuck this in the deck here basically for your reference, but they're administrative templates. So there's enterprise mode, and I will show you how enterprise mode works soon. And it's kind of like the web, HTML web standards. So I've got a couple really interesting websites here, and I will, wrong machine. Oh no. That works. Cool. So a couple of things. Let's go Octane. So the Octane score. Sun Java scripts benchmarking tool. Bigger is better. Octane score there is 19039. In Chrome, same machine, 18881. Now, your mileage may vary. I was doing this test, and admittedly, sometimes Chrome won, sometimes Edge won. It's pretty darn close, and it's certainly not your IE55 JavaScript rendering speeds. All right, it's way quicker. Way quicker. All right, so basically what I'm trying to say is even according to Java's own JavaScript benchmarking, the Edge JavaScript performance is as good, if not better, than Chrome. Okay, HTML. So Microsoft has this great website, developer.microsoft.com. There it is, there's the URL, that you can actually go. And if you're trying to say, oh, Edge doesn't support HTML, it's totally terrible, blah, 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 blah. It actually allows you to do a Venn diagram. So let's go Edge. And Edge, Internet Explorer. So this tells me there are 4,907 APIs between Edge and Internet Explorer that are the same. Remember, some code got removed from Edge? That'd be this part of the circle here. Okay? And then you have Edge, which supports 7,840. I can then add in Chrome here. Chrome, Edge. There's a happy overlap here, but then maybe you want to take Internet Explorer out and you want to have a look at the web specification. So you notice here that Edge actually supports some HTML5 specifications that even Chrome doesn't support. There's the happy medium here. There's some specifications that Chrome supports that Edge doesn't support. But what specification, what sort of score do you have? Well, this is Edge version 14, because I'm not running Redstone or Insider Preview. All right, so I'm getting a 460 over html5test.com. If you've ever gone to this, it's a website that tests the HTML5 tag support in your browser. It doesn't test how well it supports it. It just tests whether or not the browser says it supports it. All right, but then you can compare with other browsers. All right, so first of all, I'll put in Edge 15, which is what I'm running here. Actually, no, I'm not running Edge 15. Edge 15 is in Redstone. And then Edge all flags. Now, if you didn't know it, if you go to about :compat, and you, oh, that's compat, no, about :config. Oh, I wanted to show you that later. There's a heap of settings here that you can tick, some experimental settings that you can actually tick here. Experimental Web Payments API to actually enable some extra features. So with all flags enabled, Edge is at 490. So now if I go in here and compare it with Chrome version 52, which is the latest one, Chrome version 52 is 492. It's really darn close. Now, yes, there are more recent versions of Chrome out there that they're not in here. But my point is here is that if you look at the HTML5 support, Edge is really close to all of its competitors, if not beating them. Let's go in here and let's go Firefox, all flags enabled. Firefox, all flags enabled, gets 484. Edge gets 490. Right? So if your developers are going to make the argument that you can't use Edge because it doesn't support HTML5 standards, throw in this site and go, okay, well, which standards? Show me the differences here. Click on differences here, and it's just showing me the differences between all the browsers. Which one of these tags here does Edge not support that you need to support? All right? And is that paying to support that tag or not support that tag going to be worth the difference? So html5test.com. You can go there yourself. I like doing things like this. Let's compare it with Internet Explorer 9. 113, yeah, that's a great score. Remember, if you're on Vista, that's what you're dealing with right now. All right, but also accessibility. On the HTML5 accessibility score, Edge scores 100%. None of the other browsers do either. All right, so obviously if you're vision impaired or audio impaired, or I've also heard this argument, what if you broke your arm and you can't use a mouse, and you have to use keyboard navigation or something like that? Edge scores, that's version 14, that's not even version 15 on the HTML5, so it's html5accessibility.com score. So from an accessibility point of view for users, if you're a government organization, accessibility is probably a big issue, right? Because you have users, people in your staff on staff that probably you have to legally give them accessibility options for their browser. All right, so Edge, hopefully, I've kind of made the argument there that the latest versions of Edge have great HTML5 support. It's performant, and it's accessible. All right. So how do I start configuring Edge in my organization so users don't have to pick and choose which browser to use? Right. So there's a tool. there's a tool called the Enterprise Mode Site List Manager. There's a version 2 schema version and there's a version 1 schema version. I'd recommend going to the version 2 schema version. Version 1 still works. The version 2 schema is just basically they looked at the XML schema that this file creates and the browser used, and they improved it, made it a little bit more readable, a little bit more easy to understand. But basically, it allows you to handcraft an XML compatibility file that you can push out to your users. Because who likes handcrafting XML in Notepad? Nobody said ever. Yes, that's right. So basically, it allows you to do Internet Explorer redirection. All right, I just wanted to show that. And now, what does that look like? All right, so this is the tool. You can see it? Yep. Okay, great. So what I'm going to add a couple of websites to this tool. So I'm going to go add http://intranet.corp.local. It's my intranet site. Notice I can pick whatever document type I want to choose here. Right, I can go default mode, which means just whatever the website wants. IE8 mode, IE7 mode, IE11 mode. So let's go, or IE5 mode, geez. So let's go IE8 mode, and I want to make sure it opens in IE11. All right, and I save that. So what that's done is basically it's forcing that website to open in IE. But what if I have another intranet website? 2.corp.local, intranet 2.corp.local. So I'm just going to set it, hey, default mode, and I want to open it in Edge. All right, so now what I do is I just go File, Save As. I'm going to publish this. Now I have this published on a website, a HTTP, just a single URL. All right, and if I actually open it up in IE, that's the XML there. That's all it is. So now I'm going to copy that XML and I'm going to open up. First of all, I'm going to get Internet Explorer. Lose this. I thought it was you. Oh, that's what I need to do. Yes, sort, use, it's the bottom there. So I'm just going to specify. So basically this is going to tell IE users compatibility. All right, but then I also have to go into Edge. All right, and one of the new features in Edge is also to specify the enterprise mode site list. So now that I've configured that, I've configured the browser. I'm going to close both of these. I'm going to do a GP update. So now I've configured the browser, the IE and Edge, to honor the Enterprise Mode Site List Manager HTML file, which I've published on my website internally. And it's going to go off and it's going to pull down that list and it's going to honor that list for compatibility. So if I open up Internet Explorer, hasn't got it yet, but this sometimes triggers it. So it's actually an asynchronous process in the background. It doesn't immediately get the URL, but I've found if I actually go and get the file in the browser, it kind of clears the cache. Nope. This is a registry key here that I've done earlier, that if I nuke the registry key, it makes it go quicker. And then, if that doesn't work, I am going to log off and log back on very quickly. That's right, isn't it? Intranet.corp.local. I have. Well, actually, it's working. Actually, no. It's kind of working here. So this, I thought I should see an enterprise mode tag here in the browser bar. But anyway, so what I've done is I actually told this website here. So this URL here does not support a HTML5 audio tag, which IE8 mode doesn't support. So that has stuck somehow. But usually I see enterprise mode tag here. Anyway, so I've got Edge here, and then I'm going to go. So it's my intranet website, and it's rendering in IE8 mode. That's what I'm trying to prove there. All right, and it's a URL. So HTTP:, and then I'm going to open that Intranet2 site. Opens an Edge. All right, Intranet2, the really new intranet. I can go back to the old intranet. I've just opened up my old intranet, though, in Edge. That might not work, especially if it has an ActiveX control. That's a bit clunky. But here you go. There's my sub-site there, and it's rendering.
How is everyone?
HTML5 audio. That was a session that I did a while back, but it's a HTML5 audio tag to prove that it's actually rendering in new modern web standards. All right, so what I've got is I've got IE sending websites to Edge. But what I want is I want Edge to send back to IE when I open up intranet sites. Close that, close that. I'm going to go back. Enterprise mode site list manager. Oh no, it's group policy setting. So I'm in Edge. Send all intranet sites to Internet Explorer 11. So I've enabled this group policy here. Another GP update. The old intranet. Oh, here's a favorite that I created earlier. Nope, nope, wait, what? Did I? Sorry about this. IE8 document, open an IE, MS Edge. All right, if at first you don't succeed, try one more time. And here's another really good tip. The new version of Edge has an about: compat. So if you actually want to see, okay. I'm going to force an update, right. So actually, Edge itself hadn't actually picked up the compatibility list here. So enterprise mode, open in Internet Explorer, true. So there's now a nice button here that you can actually tick that actually goes off and forces the pull of that. That's not in the release version of Edge at the moment. It's not in 14. This is a 15 feature. So I can look at the raw XML file. That was the XML file that I saw earlier. And I can also look at the Microsoft compatibility list. But now that I've done that and I've refreshed that, hopefully, look at that. Because Edge was actually configured to open intranet.corp.local, I opened up Edge and it goes, no, that website's an intranet site, and it automatically opened up Internet Explorer there. If I now go to the new intranet, I can get the new intranet, and if I click on a link there to go back to the old intranet, I'm now flipping between Edge and IE. Yeah, it's making more tabs. Yeah, that kind of sucks a bit. But at least my users aren't actually having to decide what web browser. There's a question over the back, yes. Heck yeah. Should we be getting rid of all the compatibility view settings? Well, actually, so Edge is always going to go, HTML5 web standards, the best I can do. It's never going to try to do something in IE5, IE8 mode. If you have a website that has to render in IE8 or IE5 mode, go to the enterprise mode site list manager and specify what it is. Right now, notice I had that sub URL. So what I'm going to do is this is actually going to even break down intranet.corp.local. Let's say you have an intranet, but on the intranet itself, what was that URL? TechHead. See, it's still opening in standards mode. Why? Because I've got the standards mode compatibility flag set for the entire website, so I actually have some granularity. But I still have the option here to use other document type compatibility modes in IE. Right? I still have full flexibility across the range to render whatever website I want in whatever HTML5 mode I want. Probably only going to want to use this for intranet sites now. because you want to default everything just to say, just go to Edge, right? You want IE, anything you open in IE, you want it to go to Edge. So one thing I'll show you there is, let's say I could actually go IE 11 mode, in IE, save. No. Bother, sorry. IE 8 mode, in IE, add. That's what I wanted to add. And that is in IE 11. Okay, so now that part of the intranet is going to actually open in IE 11 mode. I've got to save that file. Hang on, time. Yep, not too bad. All right, so this is where you've got to kind of tickle it, right? Yeah, about. So this is good for your troubleshooting. In the background, this is just an asynchronous. Hit get. Notice that the number here updated to 57. I now have the new enterprise mode open in IE true. All right. Close that. Open it again. All right. So now what I need to do is also tickle Internet Explorer, which is this again, PowerShell command. Delete the registry key, which triggers it to do a force refresh. No, that's not what I want. I want to actually open the PowerShell command. Close IE. Now, sorry, this is, sign out. Enhanced mode, please. Okay, so hopefully, still sends me to the intranet. Now when I click on, oh, refresh. Sorry, I just hit refresh. 65 seconds. It's actually 65 seconds. That's why I'm deleting that registry key, because it's supposed to trigger it straight away. And it's a little bit, yeah, so the statement was it's 65 seconds to pull down that compatibility list. Why? Because you don't want the browser slowing down to get a compatibility list when you open it. You want the browser to open quickly. So they've arbitrarily said 65 seconds. So, but what I've done there is I've got a sub-URL to say, hey, if it's the main really old intranet, render it in IE 8 mode. But I've got this sub-site on the intranet. I want it to render in web standards, HTML5. So I have the ability to specify sub-URLs, sub-folders, to say this is a HTML5. So you control this as IT administrator. So finally, one of the other things I can do is, am I in Edge? Yep. Oh, sorry, not in Internet Explorer. Send all sites not included in the enterprise mode site list to Edge. Right. This basically makes Edge your default browser for internet. You open up a website on the internet, Edge will open. You open up an intranet site, it'll open up IE. Yes, question?
Just the sites in your intranet zone, or is it anything on the same?
This is a little bit tricky. So if it's in the Internet Explorer maintenance list, it will honor it. All right? So if it's in the intranet zone, it will go to IE. But if it's in the intranet zone and it's on the enterprise mode site list manager that you just saw there, and it says open in an Edge, it will honor it. It will override that.
But what if it's on the intranet?
Yes.
We've added trusted sites because
It's not.
a little bit more than our intranet site.
Intranet zone is the most trusted zone in your browser. Trusted zone is not the most trusted zone in your browser. Right? Intranet zone is. Because you send integrated authentication to an intranet site. You don't to the trusted site. Yeah, they trying to change that, I think, in IE 11, IE 10. I believe they did change it a bit. But yes, I have been told the intranet zone is your most trusted zone. Everything in the intranet zone will go to IE. Everything not in the intranet zone will go to Edge. However, your enterprise mode site list manager list, remember, had that option there, says open in Edge. That kind of is an override to that policy setting. If it's in that list, It'll say, oh, yeah, I've got to open it in IE. No, the list won't be smart enough to know. No, the list actually tells me to keep it in Edge. All right? So what does that look like? I'm on IE, and I'm going to go to this cool internet website called The Internet. And it flicks me across. Did I do a GP update? Then if I go to intranet, the new intranet, back, forth, I got this HTML5, and then I got the internet, and then if I'm in here, the internet. So when I'm on the internet, it opens an Edge. Notice that, so the only time, so the new intranet, I don't know if I've actually set this, oh, I can't really view it, but basically how I've got it configured here, and it takes a little bit of playing around. You've got to understand the list, but you've got to understand the interaction of the enterprise mode site list manager list and the policy setting. The enterprise site list manager trumps that policy settings, is the thing to keep in mind. Is that basically the intranet, you now have your browser set up, i.e. slightly less secure, but only facing your internal website, and Edge, more secure. Remember, we went through security. It's more secure, going to the internet, supports the web standards, right? No longer the excuses, I have to use Chrome because it doesn't work in IE. Or what about Edge? Does it work in Edge? If it works in Edge, great, okay. Why is that good for you? I'm not supporting multiple web browsers. I don't have to patch it, I don't have to multiple configure it. Okay, so as an IT pro administrator, you now have full control over what browser opens where. Yes, Chrome does this as well, has similar things, and there are even third-party products out there. Browser Router is one of them that actually work across multiple browsers and multiple vendors. Okay, but this is, if you don't have to run multiple browsers, this is the way you go, out-of-the-box solution. Enterprise mode site list manager will trump that. So hang on. It has to open in. So, what's the compatibility? Yes. So you can go in to IE and Edge, and you actually hit F12. And emulation. Oh, come on. I didn't say IE was fast, did I? No. Go to emulation. And I can actually pick Chrome for the user agent string. Yes, for an end user, it's kind of a bit sucky. Look, if a website's really going to go out of its way to say, hey, you're IE, I'm not going to do it. But Chrome has a URL web string agent now, which is fairly compatible. I think it like... This is Google Sites, the new version. Oh, really? Yeah. It works in Edge perfectly well. If you do this? Yes. Yeah, what can I say? It's Google. Funny that. Maybe you should speak to your Google account representative. You have them on? No, I don't. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure on that one. Sorry. See me afterwards. Sorry, I was going to say see me afterwards, and I'll see if I can find out the answer for you. Sorry. Okay. So 1 minute left. Okay. Home run. Kind of to finish it off. I'm done the demo. Why use Edge? Edge is great. It's secure. It's good for your users. It's less admin overhead for you. You don't have to install multiple browsers. I hope that I've given you enough reasons to use Edge in your organization. All right, the URL for that infographic is there down the bottom. Slides will be online. But bonus reason is battery life. So I'm going to talk over this. Who's seen this? For seriously, Microsoft paid an organization to do independent tests on battery life on browsers. Now you go, oh, well, it's biased because Microsoft performed it. Well, the organization that did this actually published their methodology, so you can try it yourself. I know people like Opera kind of cried foul and say, hey, we have a mode that actually has better battery life. Yeah, it does, but guess what? The pages don't run in full fidelity. You kind of downgrade it. But basically, if you're watching streaming video or something like that, or you're on battery, you're going to get better battery life out of Edge because they've basically optimized Edge, right, to have the best battery life in market compared to Chrome, certainly more than IE and the other browsers, okay? So battery life is another reason why. So this is where I say thank you and I say fill out feedback and ask, do you know how to fill out feedback? Does anyone not? Because some people have said, how do I fill out feedback? You go to the session manager, and then after this session, the option's now there to fill out feedback. If you liked the session, please give me great reviews. If you didn't like it, thanks for coming. No worries. See you later. All the best.